Bienvenidos! Welcome everybody! Today's video is about the Spanish parts of speech. The parts of speech are categories of words based on their function within a sentence. The categories are similar to the English parts of speech, but there are a few different rules. Let's start with the articles. Los artículos. These are words that define a noun as specific or unspecific. In English, we have the or a, an. One of the differences between Spanish and English is that everything has a gender. So the articles have to match the gender as well as the plurality of the noun. The can mean el, la, los, or las, depending on the noun. And then we have un, uno, una, unos, unas for a, an, or some. The Spanish articles have to agree in gender and number with the nouns they modify. Spanish sometimes omits articles where English will require them and vice versa. We then have nouns, los sustantivos. These are words that name people, places, things, or ideas. For example, casa, house, perro, dog, llaves, keys, zapatos, shoes. Articles help define the noun, right? So we can say la casa, el perro, las llaves, los zapatos, and they mean the house, the dog, the keys, the shoes. Spanish nouns have gender. They're either masculine or feminine. And of course, we also have plurality in Spanish. Plurals are usually formed by adding s or es at the end of a singular noun, but we do that in English as well. We then have adjectives, los adjetivos. These are words that describe or modify nouns. For example, grande, big, pequeño, small, viejas, old, negros, black. Spanish adjectives have to agree in gender and number with the nouns they describe. In English, adjectives do not change, but in Spanish, it's important to modify them based on the noun. Taking our noun examples, la casa, grande, el perro, pequeño, las llaves, viejas, los zapatos, negros. There are some rules within adjectives. Grande, for example, doesn't change in gender. We could say la casa grande or el perro grande. It's the same. But if we're saying las casas, the houses, in plural, we have to say grandes. Pequeño is talking about the dog, el perro pequeño, the small dog. If you're talking about a small house, it's feminine, so we would say pequeña, la casa pequeña. And then we have plural for both feminine and masculine. In Spanish, adjectives usually come after the noun, whereas they come before the noun in English. There are some exceptions. We then have pronouns, los pronombres. These are words that replace nouns to avoid repetition, just like in English. For example, some of the subject pronouns are yo, I, él, he, nosotros, we, ellas, they. In English, we have he or she for the third person singular. We have them in Spanish as well, él or ella. But we has two forms as well, nosotros or nosotras. One for a masculine group or a mixed group, and then one for an all-female group. The same thing with they, ellos or ellas. So there are some differences there. Spanish also has formal and informal pronouns. Tú is used for the informal you in singular, and usted is used for a formal you. And in English, we also use you for plural. In Spanish, we use ustedes or vosotros, vosotras. There's some variation there. Spanish also uses direct and indirect object pronouns a little different than in English. In the description box, I will leave you links to specific videos about these parts of speech if I have made one already. The next category are verbs. Los verbos. These are words that express actions or states of being. For example, correr, to run, comer, to eat, ser, to be, cantar, to sing. Spanish verbs are heavily conjugated based on person, number, tense, mood, and sometimes gender, whereas English verbs have simpler conjugations. For example, to eat, in present we use eat or eats, depending on the person. In Spanish, we have como, come, comes, comen, comemos, and coméis. and that's just for the present tense in the indicative mood. Spanish also has a subjunctive mood, and it's something that we don't use in English. It is used to express doubt, emotion, or hypothetical situations. All right, we next have adverbs, los adverbios. These are words that modify verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. For example, muy, very, nunca, never, lentamente, slowly, rápidamente, quickly. Sentences in Spanish are more flexible than in English. Adverbs can go at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of a sentence. And it happens in English as well, but Spanish can sometimes get confusing about placement. The next category is about prepositions, las preposiciones. These are words that show relationships between nouns. For example, en, which means in, sobre, on, con, with, antes, before. Some prepositions are used differently in Spanish and in English, and certain prepositional phrases do not translate directly. And then we have conjunctions, las conjunciones. These are words that connect words, phrases, or clauses. For example, y, and, pero, but, o, or, así que, so. The conjunctions themselves are fairly similar in function, but may differ in frequency and specific usage. And Spanish has conjunctions that indicate subjunctive mood, which changes the verb form that follows. And the last category we have are interjections, las interjecciones. These are words that express strong emotions or sudden bursts of feelings. For example, ay in Spanish, kind of like ouch, Dios mío, my God, bueno, well. These are filler words that we use in a normal conversation. Many interjections are culture-specific, and they may not have a direct translation in other languages. So there you have it. These are the main parts of speech in the Spanish language. Again, very similar than in English, but some of the functions and rules are a little different. I hope this is helpful to keep learning Spanish. Go watch this video next. Muchas gracias.